Picture this. It's June 1945, and a coastal American city is swallowed in an atomic flash. But the plane flying overhead doesn't have an American flag painted on its side. It's Japanese. If that strike lands, the Axis powers win the Second World War. The global map is completely redrawn in their favor, and the United States never achieves global superpower status. We are taught a very specific version of the atomic age. In the standard historical narrative, the American Manhattan Project operates in brilliant isolation, racing ahead of the rest of the world through sheer scientific superiority. History is written by the victors. The reality on the ground was far tighter. Both Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan possessed the theoretical knowledge and were terrifyingly close to winning the nuclear race. The American nuclear monopoly was forged from a singular German lab error, extreme scientific censorship, and a shadow war for resources. This animation shows the basic physics problem scientists faced in 1938 after splitting the uranium atom. When the atom breaks apart, it releases energy and fast-moving neutrons, but these tiny projectiles fly outward too fast to catch. They bounce right past the surrounding uranium atoms, and the reaction simply stops. To keep the chain reaction going, you need a moderator. Think of it as a microscopic speed bump. It slows wild neutrons down just enough so the next uranium atom can easily catch them, split, and keep the fire burning. In 1941, the German military tasked Walther Bothe, the nation's top experimental nuclear chemist, to find a cheap, effective moderator. His primary candidate was graphite. Bothe ran his tests and concluded that graphite simply wouldn't work. Based on that single conclusion, the Nazi military abandoned graphite entirely. But Bothe's sample was unknowingly contaminated with boron, a material that absorbs neutrons and kills chain reactions. Right around the same time, researchers in the United States made a crucial realization. Scientists like Enrico Fermi discovered that if you use perfectly pure graphite, it functions as a flawless nuclear moderator. A brilliant physicist named Leo Szilard recognized the danger. If the Germans read about pure graphite in an academic journal, they could correct their mistake and build a working reactor. Szilard successfully organized a total blackout, convincing the scientific community to lock their discoveries away from public view. Both's contaminated experiment, locked in place by Szilard's enforced censorship, left the German military blind to the cheapest path forward. They were forced to pivot their entire nuclear program to the only other viable option, an elusive liquid known as heavy water. Heavy water is incredibly difficult to produce. It requires massive amounts of electricity to boil millions of liters of regular water. In the early 1940s, only one place on Earth made it in significant quantities: the Vemork hydroelectric plant, perched on a mountain in Norway. Recognizing they needed this facility to build their bomb, the German military invaded Norway in 1940, occupying the country and seizing control of the plant. But French intelligence had already been tipped off. Before the Germans could secure the existing stockpile, a French agent, working directly with the plant's designer, smuggled the heavy water out of Norway. They used a complex network of decoy flights to slip the canisters under the noses of German spies. The Germans simply restarted the factory to make more. That led to Operation Gunnerside in 1943. Under the cover of total darkness, a team of 9 Norwegian commandos scaled a 200-meter frozen cliff, slipped into the heavily fortified Vemork plant, and blew the heavy water production machinery to pieces. Facing continuous sabotage and subsequent Allied bombing raids, the German military decided to cut their losses. They packed up whatever heavy water they had managed to salvage and loaded it onto a civilian ferry, the SF Hydro, for transport back to Germany. Norwegian resistance fighters knew they could not let that ship reach its destination. They sneaked aboard and planted timed explosives in the hull. On February 20th, 1944, the ferry sank into the freezing depths of a Norwegian lake, taking innocent civilian passengers and the Nazi nuclear supply down with it. Without a moderator, the German bomb was physically impossible to build. But the threat of an Axis nuclear strike hadn't evaporated. It had simply shifted to the Pacific. Japan possessed a highly advanced nuclear physics program. Their scientists had the theoretical knowledge and the technology to construct a weapon, but they were missing one critical ingredient: raw uranium ore. To bridge this gap, Germany agreed to supply their ally. In April 1945, a massive German U-boat, the U-234, slipped out of port.
It was loaded with advanced V-2 rocket technology, jet engine designs, and 500 kilograms of uranium, bound straight for Japan. The U-234 never made it. While the submarine was mid-transit in the cold waters of the Atlantic, Nazi Germany officially surrendered. The submarine's captain yielded to the United States Navy, prompting the 2 Japanese military officers on board to commit suicide rather than face capture. Japan's last chance to fuel a weapon vanished in the Atlantic, and those captured German resources went straight into the American arsenal. For decades, the official story was that the United States simply impounded this material, but controversial historical investigations suggest the cargo on the U-234 was already highly enriched uranium, far beyond the state of raw ore. According to the research laid out in the book Critical Mass, the American Manhattan Project integrated this captured German material directly into their own supply chain. The implication is that the US was struggling with uranium enrichment and used the enemy's highly processed stock to push their own bombs across the finish line. Even the physics underlying the American program were built on the backs of exiled scientists who had fled the German regime years earlier. This frantic global scramble for resources and mathematical secrets culminated in the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The weapons ended the war, exacting a massive toll in human lives. American global dominance was anchored by Axis scientific blunders, the blood of Norwegian saboteurs, and strategic capture of enemy resources. History remembers the Manhattan Project, but the Shadow War won the race.